When Scott and Teresa LeRette got married, they were unprepared for the devastating diagnosis that would transform their lives as new parents to their son, Austin. Scott went from a frightened, irresponsible father to a man of faith. That was somewhat 20 years ago, and he joins us with the backstory. Welcome to the Harvest Show,
Good
Scott.
morning. Wonderful to be here.
Wow, I mean, when we talk about the Unbreakable Boy, your new project, it's really not the project I expected to read. It wasn't the story I was expecting, but, you know, take me back to your life back then. What was going on in your life that gave birth to this book some 20 years later?
I was a single, carefree guy living in Charlotte, North Carolina, and getting married, having children was the last thing on my mind. And in terms of why I wrote it, I mean, there's a lot that transpired between, you know, being that 30-year-old guy and writing it. But I met a girl, and things happened very quickly. And we had a baby, and then we got married, and then it all started.
Okay, so how long ago, how long have you been married?
21 years this December.
Okay, and this journey has taken you 21 years to come to this, where it's been a 21-year journey for you.
Absolutely.
That has unfolded. So you're married, you refer to yourself as an irresponsible person. Kind of really take us down that lane, down that street you were living on. I mean, drug addiction, everything. Tell us about it.
I didn't want to be married. I didn't want to be a father. And I didn't, 21 years ago, love this woman because we didn't know each other. And there were things that I did to accommodate myself and for purely selfish reasons. And for me, it was alcohol. And I think today, after 21 years, we're finally starting to find that door that's marked love. It's taken us a long, long time, but for me, it was definitely that. I put myself above and ahead of priorities that should have been there, including family and faith.
Speaking of your family, we just saw an image or a photograph of a handsome little cutie patootie. That would have been, who is this guy right here?
That is Austin.
Now that's who I want you to tell me about. Tell me, how did Austin change your life? When did he come on the scene?
That particular photo was, I guess he was less than an hour old, and I was a chocolate mess. It was one of those moments that I'll never, ever, ever forget. My firstborn son being born. Little did we know that he actually had 1 or 2 cracked ribs at the time.
Oh my God! I mean, and so he was in pain quite a bit. Right,
and for probably 6 months, we thought we had this colicky, fussy baby. We didn't know. He was our only example to compare against, and we just thought we had the fussiest baby in the whole wide world. Unbeknownst to us, he had a broken rib.
Why did he have broken ribs?
Well, there was a 50-50 chance that Austin would have osteogenesis imperfecta, or OI for short, and it's a genetic brittle bone disease, the same one that my wife Teresa has and several of her siblings. And we just didn't know that he was born with some broken bones.
And then you told me before the show started that went on for about 6 months, and then you found out something else.
Well, at 6 months, we confirmed the bones, but the next thing we really found, though, it was a few years later, was his heart. Were the couple of holes in his heart, and there was transpositioning of veins and things like that. But the autism, though, that didn't come till much later. But what you're alluding to is that we slowly started to get diagnoses for different things. It was an alphabet soup, from ADD, ADHD. This went on for many years, actually.
And how did that change you? Because here you go from this carefree person, single person, excuse me, to being a father, and now you find out your son has, you know, multiple diseases and illnesses. How did that transform your life?
Well, I think that Teresa and she absolutely had Austin and then Logan as well at the forefront of her priorities. And my the kids are what kept us together.
And who are we looking at here?
That's Austin with this self-induced, I don't know, he may have had a broken nose, but he threw a toy up in the air and it came down, and that was not uncommon to see that.
What are some of the challenges you two faced with this diagnosis? Not only the health conditions, but the autism, everything that's going on.
Well, I kid and say that the heart issues and the bone issues really aren't that big of a deal. And in the grand scheme of things, they're not. And when he was 10 or 11, that's when all these different acronyms turned into autism. And what we know it is today, it's more, for him specifically, it's Asperger's, which is it's autism. And that is the one that is a challenge every single day. Today more so than ever.
So what's it like? Give us an everyday, I mean, what happens on a typical day? Or is it that you never know what to expect?
Well, there are some things that are pretty much the norm. There's no gray area with Austin. It's black or white. He's either really 1,000 miles an hour or he's had a seizure and he's out. And it's just nonstop.
But you have your new project, it's called The Unbreakable Boy, and I think I know why you called it that, but let us know, tell our viewers the backstory of it, a father's fear, a son's courage, and a story of unconditional love. Unconditional love. I mean, this may sound like a difficult question to answer, but did you find it difficult to love someone with autism?
Oh, no, absolutely not. And I believe that the kids, you know, that was the glue that kept us together, regardless of how Teresa and my relationship was evolving and becoming.
So, you know, for people who are watching and they have children or grandchildren who have special needs, you know, sometimes we think that that's going to, just the bottom has dropped out. But you're saying not so.
Well, no, that's a fair question because I don't know what the numbers are, but special needs / autism especially, the divorce rate apparently is very high. It's very high anyway.
Right.
Divorce in America, but when you throw in special needs and autism, it's really high. And so the fact that we're together almost 21 years later is absolutely unique and kind of, yeah.
Well, I'd imagine that God had to perform a great work in your life and in your family to bring it all together, because you don't go from, you know, being this selfish person to giving unconditional love overnight. There had to be a transformation in your life as well.
Yes, absolutely. And of course, for me, it was a specific night almost about 9 years ago when I call it my seminal moment. And I think everybody has those. Well,
we're going to let you tell us about that moment when we come back to talk with Scott LeRette about Unbreakable Boy, a father's fear, a son's courage, and a story of unconditional love. Coming up later, Brian Bush will bring us an update on peace talks in Israel, but we will return with Scott LeRette in just a moment.
To have what Scripture says is given by inspiration of God is a real treasure, and that's why we want to invite you to sign up for the Treasury of Dr. Lester Sumrall. This free daily e-devotional draws from Dr. Sumrall's timeless writings and biblical insight on many issues confronting us today. Just go to LeSEA.com and click on the Treasury sign-up banner to receive the Treasury of Dr. Lester Sumrall in your inbox every day. That's LESEA.com. Dr. Lester Sumrall was given a global vision to reach 1 million souls every day for Jesus Christ. To fulfill his God-given assignment, he began establishing the many outreaches of LeSEA Broadcasting. Today, the ministry reaches millions of people in more than 190 nations through the power of television, radio, free Bibles, shortwave satellite, and prayer line. But we need your help to reach millions more. Will you join Partners in Faith and help us spread the gospel around the world? Will you commit to giving a monthly gift of $25, $50, $100 or more? Dr. Sumrall knew he couldn't fulfill his vision without the help of thousands of partners. But don't wait. Become a partner in faith today. Call 1-800-365-3732 or visit LeSEA.com to give safe and secure online. The Bible says he who wins souls is wise. Make the wise choice today to become a partner in faith and help us win souls for Jesus.
We are back with Scott LeRette. He's the author of The Unbreakable Boy. And just before break, you were telling us about this moment that you had in your life that kind of brought things together for you. Tell us about it.
Well, I call it my seminal moment, and I think that that's something that everybody has it at one point in their life, maybe more than one time, but for me it was the last time I drank alcohol, and it was also a moment where myself and Austin and Logan and I put their life in definite danger, in harm's way, and I don't understand how we lived through it. I drove, and I don't remember very much about it, and it's one of those times too where it's so difficult to relive. Mm-hmm. I don't like going there, but at the same time I can never forget that. Mm-hmm. And it also is that moment where everything about it, who was me, that makes up who I am, was changed forever because of it.
And how did your faith play into all of this? Because, you know, that's how people get through situations and hardships.
Well, for me, it took many years to get to where I was. Mm-hmm. But at the same time, that next morning, something did click. And I compare it to like the fog over my eyes. It just slowly started to dissipate. But I think that my sobriety and my faith are inexorably linked. Mm-hmm. The stronger my faith is, the stronger my sobriety, and vice versa. And I think that if one were to fail, the other would surely follow.
Wow, that's so that's courageous of you to say that, because a lot of people don't want to admit that. We just, you know, come across as happy mm-hmm. all the time, not willing to admit that we can fall back into situations if our faith does not keep us intact.
Oh, right, and I wrote this book, and I think some people may look at it and say, oh gosh, they've got it all going. We're still as broken as ever, mm-hmm. and messed up as much as you are. Mm-hmm.
Aren't we all a work in progress?
Yes.
You describe Austin as being a courageous person. How so? I mean, Austin is what, 20 now?
He's 20 years old. Well, I think that because Austin doesn't beat to other people's drum, he doesn't care about he likes nice things, of course, but in terms of what he wears and what he does.
Where is he right here? What's going on here?
That was prom about 2 years ago, and he's getting ready to get into a 1965 candy apple red convertible Impala.
Talk about his accomplishments. I mean, he's gone to school. Talk about some of those things.
Well, he's currently enrolled in culinary school, and the one thing we didn't anticipate was how he would do academically. He's doing extremely well. Mm-hmm. And it was just something that really threw us off. And
what about Logan, your other son? How has this all affected his life?
Well, Logan, everybody wants to know about Logan. And Logan, he could have gone this way or that way. And what he's turned into, though, is this incredibly strong young man of faith, someone that I look up to and want to emulate. He's one of my heroes. He's either going to be a doctor or a missionary. But anything he touches, from music to sports, he's all academic, all state, all everything. And he's just a solid human being.
When you open this book, you think it's a book about special needs, but it really isn't. What would you want? What is the takeaway for you? What do you want readers to know?
You and I had talked about this, but I think that we're all still broken and, mm-hmm. and messed up. And one of the reviews I recently got was laugh, cry, think. And I just really, and it's happening too. People are reading the book and they're thinking and they're seeing that, you know, I'm broken just like they are. And one of the neat analogies I really like is that, and I'm just starting to do it, and so is my wife, is that all you need to do though is look down, because all the pieces are right there. And I think for 20 years, that's what I've been trying to do, and now more so than ever is just, all we got to do is pick those pieces up.
What about your wife, Teresa? How, I mean, just being there every day, you know, going through this situation, raising a child with autism, how has it changed her?
Well, she's stronger than I will ever be. Mm-hmm. And for us, it's really, it's quite a moment, because I think that our relationship and our love is only now beginning to show. And because the priorities mine were obviously so mixed up, but hers were her children and her faith.
You've demonstrated through your story that people with autism can live a life, a successful mm-hmm. life, and I think that's an education for many people. How important was it for you to share that information? Because it puts things in perspective. You can have hopes and dreams for your children because they have, even though they may have different needs or may have special needs.
Absolutely, and I know that Austin one day will be working in a restaurant. He wants a girlfriend, he wants to drive, he wants to live on his own, and those are things that we're all going to work towards. And I think that what's key for anybody that's living in a family with special needs is to embrace what they love. And for him, it's one of the things he loves is cooking. And we've embraced that and encouraged him and pushed him. And we've included him in everything. I think inclusion is such an enormous factor to not shelter that child. And it shows because he's an autistic person who's extremely social and verbal. At the same time, it's really hard living with Austin. He's got the most love of any kid I've ever met in my life. On the other hand, it's just so sometimes brutally difficult to live with Austin.
But it's been worth it.
Oh, no doubt about it. I wouldn't change it.
As you talk about that, I mean, there are parents, I think, and grandparents, people who are watching, as they get this education about autism and children with special needs. I hear you saying basically, treat your autistic child the way you would treat your other children, to pursue all the things that they have in them to help develop their potential.
Yes, and I really like this because what happens, we try to fix people, just in general. We all try to fix people that we think are maybe not normal or wrong. And maybe it's that we need to better understand how they learn and how they receive and process and transmit things. And that's one of the things that has really helped me with Austin is trying to learn how he learns versus trying to fix him.
And has he been able to communicate that very well to you, like, this is who I am?
No. Yes and no.
That's part of the process, though.
Right. Sometimes, and it's just, it'll never end. It's an ongoing thing that we'll always have to deal with Austin. Okay,
so I don't know if our viewers can really see this picture of him with this hat on. You said that he wears this hat almost everywhere, or he's wearing a hat everywhere he goes. Why is that?
Well, hats have always been something for Austin.
Oh, here we go.
Right. That's one of my favorite all-time pictures. If you can see the expression on my face, it's one of, I've got a smile, but also there's anguish in my eyes, because that's what Austin in my life is. It's love and anguish at the same time. But the hats, see, there are hats everywhere. They bring something to him. They comfort him, they ground him, and he's always got some type of hat on.
And what have you learned about God in all of this? What have you learned about him throughout this process?
Well, I look at this 20-plus year process and realize that I may have left him when I left high school. I may have left God behind, but he was always there. And especially with that seminal moment of mine that one night, that had to have been part of it, because I don't remember it.
What's next for Austin?
Well, Austin's going to continue with school, and I think that working towards his goals, being in a restaurant, and he's going to accomplish those, obviously.
Well, thank you so much, Scott, for sharing your story with us. The Unbreakable Boy, A Father's Fear, A Son's Courage, a story of unconditional love. To connect with Scott, go to theunbreakable.boy.com or go to harvest-tv.com for a link to his project, The Unbreakable Boy, A Father's Fear, A Son's Courage, and a story of unconditional love. And still to come, Pete and Harold Hazen discuss early retirement. You don't want to miss it here on Harvest.